Charlie Kirk should still be here. It should not have been that there was political violence that resulted because of the words that were coming out of his mouth, just like plenty of MAGA hates when I mention white supremacy.
She was asked about rhetoric and Charlie Kirk's death, and within 30 seconds is talking about herself and how people can't handle how smart her takes are. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another quick hit video where I break down viral moments and breaking news. Guys, everything is so bleak in American politics right now, and there's some pretty toxic people on both extremes. And I think perhaps the most toxic person on the Democratic side is the new darling. The liberal media loves to prop her up, and the Democratic elites are her biggest fan. But I think she's perhaps the most toxic voice on the mainstream American left right now, and that is Jasmine Crockett, the Democratic Congresswoman from Texas, who went on CNN yesterday on the day of Charlie Kirk's memorial service and just doubled down on the unhinged rhetoric that's brought us to this breaking point in American politics with so much violence, and also had to just crap on the guy who was literally being memorialized. She couldn't wait a day. Anyway, we got to react to this CNN interview with Dana Bash because it's a new low. She really just doubled down and said, yeah, I'm going to do everything that I've been doing and then some. Let's watch.
So meanwhile, you obviously feel very strongly about the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk used that you find objectionable, and also from others in the MAGA movement. As the memorial service for him is going to happen later today, there is a debate over heated rhetoric on all sides. And
listen, whether it's heated or not,
I love how she can't even wait to be asked a question. She just immediately has to interject. Really lovely. But sorry, continue. Keep going, Jasmine. You're doing amazing, sweetie.
the fact is Charlie Kirk should still be here. It should not have been that there was political violence that resulted because of the words that were coming out of his mouth, just like plenty of MAGA hates when...
Oh my gosh. For a minute, I was actually about to give her credit and be like, thank you. You know what? I agree. Beautiful message. But she had to make it about MAGA. Can't we just say it's bad for left-wing extremists to murder people, murder conservatives without going also, but MAGA? Like, I do appreciate the sentiment, but I think she immediately had to do two things here that I don't like. Inject MAGA whataboutism. Not to say there's no real issues there, but it's like, we don't always have to talk about both sides constantly. And then two, of course, being Jasmine Crockett, of course, she made it about herself.
MAGA hates when I mention white supremacy, which kind of tells you where MAGA stands. But nevertheless, they get very upset when I talk about white supremacy.
I love this idea that if you disagree with any of her rants about white supremacy, therefore you must be white supremacist. There's no other explanation in her mind. You couldn't possibly disagree with her when she compares immigration enforcement to slave patrols like she did last week. You must just be in favor of slavery. No other explanation. And again, why first off, she wasn't asked. I almost said she was asked. She didn't even wait for a question because of course she can't. Jasmine, oh my God. So anyway, though, she was asked about rhetoric and Charlie Kirk's death, and within 30 seconds is talking about herself and how people can't handle how smart her takes are. I'm not joking. That's what we're witnessing here, guys. Let's keep going.
But that doesn't mean that somebody should then try to find a bullet or try to find a knife and harm me. Not in America. That's not who we are supposed to be.
Well, let me ask you.
Of course, I agree with this. I would never want harm to come to Jasmine Crockett or any Democrat just because they say things that I find horrible. Completely agree. But why'd you have to make it about yourself once again? Once again, a man was murdered and you had to instantly make it about yourself. I agree with the point. I'm glad she's against political violence. That does put her, a level ahead of the TikTok crazies, I guess, who celebrate political violence. But quite an egotistical way to answer the non-question because you interrupted the host on her own show within 30 seconds, Jasmine.
Because I do want to play a couple of statements that you made earlier this year.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have someone that is occupying the White House, and as far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States. They want to show that they are loyal to this, I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure.
And to be clear, the president has attacked, other people have attacked you in his orbit, maybe not him personally. But do you have a responsibility as an elected official not to raise the temperature, but rather lower the temperature, particularly when there are people out there who listen to elected officials all over the place who are not well, who use that as a way to instigate the political violence that you are calling out?
So just to pause here for a second, shout out to you. This is Dana Bash, CNN host. She did a good job here. She did real journalism, not just PR for Democrats. She confronted a elected official with her past statements and said, shouldn't you do better by your own standards? She did a very good job here, and I give her credit for that. Now, let's see if she continues to hold Jasmine accountable, but at least, this is more than you would have seen if this interview was happening on MSNBC. I'll say that at least. I'll give Dana some credit for sure.
Calling out.
I think that my responsibility is to be transparent and to be honest. And the reality is that we are living in a time in which this administration and this regime is not interested in making sure that people understand history. We need to understand why they are so problematic. And so I am using that language because it is accurate language when we see the consolidation.
Oh my God. So calling Trump literally Hitler and calling him the enemy of the country, she just says, no, I don't apologize. I stand on business, and it's just accurate. I'm sorry, unless I missed the part where Trump is putting millions of people into death camps. And I have so many criticisms of him. We criticize him regularly on this channel. This is not a MAGA Stan account, right? But the idea that he is in any way comparable to Hitler is so obscene and so ridiculous, when millions and millions of Jews and other people as well were killed by Hitler, this evil madman, perhaps the most villainous person in all of human history, and you're invoking it to Trump. And then you're making those invocations about Trump in a context where people have repeatedly tried to kill him. And then you're saying, well, it's just accurate. It's not accurate. And it is remarkably hyperbolic and reckless. It only turns up the temperature of the political discourse. It's remarkably unoriginal. How many times have we heard the Hitler line be used casually by liberals in America? It's really, really old, and people just roll their eyes and tune you out. So it's not even effective rhetoric at this point. But it's not just accurate, and MAGA's mad about you, dropping facts about history. You sound utterly delulu, though, of course, it's Jasmine Crockett, so not surprising. But then the other piece of this is that it doesn't make sense to say, I'm against political violence. I don't want anybody coming after anyone with a knife or a gun because of the things they say or do or whatever, which Jasmine says at the beginning of this interview. And I do appreciate, again, I'm glad she'll say that. But then you're also saying it's accurate to call Trump Hitler. Which is it? Because it can't really be both. Because I don't think Trump is remotely comparable to Hitler, my many criticisms of him aside. But if I truly believed he was, it'd be hard to argue that assassinating Hitler wouldn't be justified, right? So if you're saying that he's literally Hitler, but also that no one should harm him, that doesn't really add up. You're trying to have the best of both worlds here, and it doesn't really make sense. And of course, it doesn't happen in this CNN segment, but I would have loved to ask Jasmine Crockett this and say, hey, do you think it would have been okay or justified or valid for someone to kill Hitler? And most people would say yes to that, in which case then you can say, okay, well, you're saying Trump's literally Hitler, and that's just accurate facts, but also that political violence is wrong. You see how this doesn't add up, babe, right? It does not, the math is not mathing. But if she says, no, it wouldn't be okay to kill Hitler, that's an interesting take that I think people would also question. So I wish this contradiction could be highlighted, because it does not add up. I'm glad that Democrats like Jasmine Crockett condemn political violence, but there's a total glaring inconsistency between saying your opponents are literally Nazis, and that's just accurate, and you don't regret that rhetoric, and you won't tone it down, but also saying no one should harm them. It doesn't add up, and she's getting away with this glaring contradiction, and it really bugs me. Let's keep going.
Validation of power, when we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and I won't deny it.
Oh my God. Look, I've been very critical of the Trump administration's attacks on free speech is how I see it. Like when the FCC is threatening ABC to take Jimmy Kimmel off the air, I view that as a violation of free speech, an attack on the First Amendment, all that. But to compare it to Hitler is so absurd. I mean, all across America, there are still countless venues and opportunities that literally anyone can go and bash Trump however much they want and face absolutely no reprisal. The idea that in the narrow circumstance of publicly owned airwaves, they may exert government pressure to punish certain voices or for bad takes they don't like is a problem. But like taking it to Hitler is just absurd, and it's 1,000 steps too far. Again, but not surprising coming from her. Ugh.
These are the facts. But one of the things that I've never done that the president has done consistently is called specifically for violence. He has said, oh, beat that one up. He has said those types of things. We know that Charlie Kirk was saying things about who should live and who should die. I have never said those kinds of things. And I think that those things are the ones that are really, really dangerous. And even still, some of that will still be protected. We know that we still have laws that are on the book that certain speech is not protected, that it does cross over when you are inciting violence, such as what we saw on January 6th.
Oh my gosh. I condemn the January 6th riot at the time. I totally disagree with Trump's decision to pardon people who violently attacked police officers. All of those caveats out of the way. I mean, it just sucks that she's like, on the day of Charlie Kirk's memorial, she has to victim blame him and say, well, he talked about life and death. He used alarmists. He was just murdered in a terror attack on American democracy and free speech. Save your hot takes, Jasmine. Save them. Like, could you just not do it on the day of his memorial, maybe? Just have a little bit of class? I don't know. I would never. Even if somebody very far to the left, who I totally despised, was killed, I would not, on the day of their memorial, feel the need to specifically trash them. Like, we're just built different, I guess. I don't know.
When you are doing what we consider to be a terroristic threat of some sort, where it's a matter of, I'm not just saying it, but I have the apparent ability to carry that out. But me laying out historical facts, just like they don't want to talk about the fact that slavery was real in this country.
Oh my gosh, more like insane nonsense. Nobody says slavery isn't real in America. In American history. And she can't just keep framing calling her political opponents literally Hitler as facts. That is not what a fact is. Like, that is a highly disputed, opinionated characterization. That's just not what the word fact means. I'm going to just crash out here if we keep going, but I will for your viewing pleasure.
And that my people were enslaved and dragged and raped and abused, and they don't want to account for any of that. They don't believe in reparations. No, I think it is okay for me to understand history and
Hold up. So now we're bad if we don't believe in reparations because some terrible things happened to people she never met and were done by people who we never met but look like us or something. So if we don't believe in race-based guilt and punishment based on ancestral guilt, we're bad and don't care about slavery. Like, that is so insane. By the way, like, a huge swath of America opposed the idea of going back and doing reparations for slavery hundreds and hundreds of years later and paying off and rewarding people for things that never happened to them, happened to their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother or whatever, and then punishing other people. Also, like, there's so many questions about reparations that just totally fall apart. Like, what about mixed race people? What about people whose ancestors immigrated here after slavery? It's like the whole thing is an insane idea, but she's just casually throwing it out as if it's absurd. Anyone could not believe that. She's so out of touch. It's actually remarkable.
And communicate in a very clear way about why we should feel as if there is a concern. And when we swear an oath, which is what that first clip was, we swear an oath to the Constitution to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so if there is someone that is evidencing themselves, such as the president, who is going out and says, yes, I will take a $400 million plane from a foreign government, or is engaged in receiving crypto that we cannot track in exchange for, say, giving away chips to
Okay, Look, I think the Trump crypto stuff is incredibly sketchy and sus, and I do not support it at all. But she's literally suggesting that because he has a crypto coin and is making money off of it while he's president, I agree that's bad, honestly. But like, that makes him an enemy to the United States of America in direct contravention of his oath to the Constitution. So she's saying that makes him a traitor. Like, no, it doesn't. That is extremely, extremely hyperbolic. He can be kind of shady and corrupt and also not literally be a traitor. It just, again, why does everything have to be at 100 out of 100 with her all the time? Always. But then she'll say, oh, but of course I don't want anything bad to happen. I don't know. You can only ratchet up the rhetoric so much and then act shocked when people take the seriousness of your words seriously. I don't know.
To Saudi Arabia. No, we absolutely need to understand how these things could cause us harm. Or when he's cozying up to somebody like Vladimir Putin, it's not only a problem for us, but it's a problem for our allies. When you have somebody like Poland that is like, yeah, this is what Russia's up to, and the president is like, oh, that may have just been a mistake. We need to understand what all his business dealings are, even with Russia, because that has the potential of putting us in harm's way.
Why does she have to just do this, like, Mad Libs of political issues? Just throw them all out. And like, as if they're all relevant to the question of whether she should stop saying Trump is literally Hitler. It actually, I think NATO strategy discussions involving Russian aggression towards Poland are not really relevant to anything the host asked you about. She's just, all she has is buzzwords and babbling. Seriously, that's it. I find her to be the worst representative of the Democratic Party these days, but they love her. They keep putting her out as this star. The media adores her. I don't understand why, because I genuinely think this person is probably radioactive to 80% of Americans politically. She only appeals to like solidly progressive, affluent, well-educated, woke white people. Like, that's her demo. I think most Americans probably would find her political brand, her rhetoric, her identity, weaponization, and obsession exhausting and annoying, not compelling as some new light and leader for the Democratic Party. But that's just my take. And just to kind of wrap up this video, guys, I just find it sad that even after the murder of Charlie Kirk, multiple assassination attempts on President Trump, the killing of multiple Democratic state lawmakers, all this senseless political violence, leaders like Jasmine Crockett still refuse to just even calm their rhetoric a little bit. Even just call your opponents terrible, but not literally Hitler. That's too much to ask from them, apparently. I don't know. I find that really shameful and disappointing, but can't say I'm that surprised. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Hit that like button while you're at it. Let me know what you think of these quick hit videos. And if you're interested in more of my content, make sure you subscribe to the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, where I do give you my take on media, internet insanity, and political craziness, all from an independent perspective. The link to subscribe to the podcast is in the description. And with that, guys, we'll talk again real soon.